going to today concentrate on the history of the Somalian Jewish community history over here. I don't think we've there's many informations available online here in English, so I thought it'll be a nice special edition to speak about just before we come into Shabbat Parashat Vayishlach. This week, Somalia, we've spoken about other countries, and in the series, we've especially a lot of countries with smaller Jewish populations, we have spoken about. Most notably, if you recollect, we spoke, I believe, about places like Peru, Cuba. We spoke last week about Sudan. We spoke about Kuwait last Erev Shabbat. So now is a time period to speak very much about Somalia over here, which has got like a very, very rich, let's just say, Jewish community history in of its own right. Famous, much actually occurred over there, which more than people might naturally think. Many people might think that there very, very little occurred in these places, but no, there was happenings, let's just say, in of itself also in Somalia. So it's going to be very interesting tidbits over here. So just on in advance, wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom. Just recording this from the city of Bet Shemesh. And please, if you're watching live over here, we've recorded about the Yes, I think we recorded a video the United States of America only about a week ago. I think it was. If you guys will and over here, very much today we are going to speak about Somalia today. So I want everyone to watch over the previous videos we've done, and yeah, we're going to take it away from over here. Now, anyone you happen to have visited Somalia before, or any connection you've got, any of you viewers have got to Somalia, please let me know in the comment section. I would love to hear more information. Also, as we are a community that's exploring the various countries across the world, and definitely a pleasure to say everyone on the chat. Welcome to the channel, and a very good old friend of mine I can see has come on, so I'm wishing a Shabbat Shalom back to you. And please, yeah, it's very good to hear some great. One of my favorites was we had like a very famous person, the Traveling Clat, came on live, and while we were doing a historic video, I think only about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I think everyone in the comment section got absolutely shocked that such a massive influencer came on. But welcome to the community, anyone that's live. And as we take away the Somalian Jewish community history, friends, over here on this Erev Shabbat. Okay, so when did it start, Somalia itself? That's the first questions many people will talk about. Many people won't associate. The history of the Jews of Somalia refers to the historical presence, let's say, of Jewish communities in, let's say, the Horn of Africa country of Somalia. Judaism in the Somalia Peninsula obviously receives very, very little attention in historical records. However, I think there's evidence of there being Jewish presence, if I'm not mistaken, in the area for centuries, let's say, with some members of the community openly practicing their faith and others practicing it in secret. Now, many of the Jewish people in the area were Adonite and Yemenite Jews who came to the region as merchants, and let's just say be providing religious services over there naturally. Apparently, there was a report in 1949 stated that there were no Jews left in Italian and British Somaliland over there, while the traditional Jewry in Somalia is, let's say, known. Little is known about the crypto Jews who practice their faith discreetly over there. So very, very interesting. Now, let's talk about Jewry in Somalia in of its own right now. Anyone, first of all, tuning in live at the moment, welcome to our community. And please, everyone, subscribe to the channel. We've got so much great content over here to watch over, as well, an online encyclopedia kind of exploring the history of great rabbis of yesteryear and so on and so forth. And yeah, welcome everyone over here, and please join our community and enjoy and get inspired over here. Okay, so let's continue. Now, so the presence of Jewish communities in Somalia had been subject of debate. Historical records suggest a small number of Jews, estimated to be around 100 to 200 individuals, migrated to Somalia in the early 1900s as traders, and they settled in coastal towns such as somewhat called Berbere. Obviously, it's capital of the Sahel region, I think, of Somaliland. Also another place, Zayla, I believe. A historical, let's say, port town in the western Awdal region of the Somaliland, and Brava also. However, I think there was a report in the JTA, the Jewish Telegraph Agency, which was published actually in 1949, said that there were no Jews left in Italian and British Somaliland, as we said before. So 100 to 200. I think we've seen these figures at various points of time, especially in Kuwait and possibly in maybe close to that in Sudan. Now, Yemenite Jews in Somalia. It's believed that there was a wave of Yemenite Jews in the Somali territories in the 1880s and other Ottoman-friendly territories around the same time when Yemenites, let's say, immigrated to Ottoman Jerusalem from 1881 to 1882. A few hundred Jews, I think, left, but more arrived come 1914. Yemenite Somali Jews served as, let's say, prominent leaders in successful Somali governments, apparently in the 1960s, also in the 1970s. I think come up the 1970s, when Somalia joined the Arab League, many Yemenite Somali Jews sold their businesses and emigrated. So once again, when something is happening connected to the Arab League or Israel, you see a mass exodus of the Jewish community from those specific areas respectively, also over there. So I think then there was estimated to be no more than 5 to 10 merchant families widely distributed along the coast. I think in the Ben Adir coast and north, let's say, Somalia cities. Now, I think the ruins of historic Eastern synagogues can still be found, if I'm not mistaken, in Obiyat town in Somalia. But I think there's many, let's say, local synagogues in towns such as Hafun, Alula, and Benda Qasim were destroyed by the Italian fascists in the 1930s, respectively. While, let's say, the history of traditional Jewish communities in Somalia obviously is relatively well known, little is understood about the crypto Jews who practice their faith discreetly over there. The true extent of the Jewish presence and influence in Somalia remains a topic even under research, I believe, on modern day itself. So we haven't got much information. I'd like to know if there was any rabbis that work there or not. But let's explore a bit about the Israel and Somalia relations. Israel was among the first nations to recognize Somalia and Somaliland, their independence, if I'm not mistaken, prior to unification. The 1974 Somalia joined the Arab League and complied with the Arab League to boycott Israel. So you see, Israel does a lot of good for Somalia, recognizing them, and in turn, we don't get really anything back. But in 2017, the Somali president Mohammed Abdul Farmajo Mohammed refused to meet Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu during a visit to Kenya. And I think during the African heads of state meeting in an area called, I think, Nairobi, Farmajo refused to engage in a meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu. This move was praised, obviously, by terror organizations such as Hamas, with, I think, at the time, the senior member Musa Abu Marzouk stating their attitudes have value and meaning, and their country has respect and appreciation, and their people have dignity. Obviously not horrific. Izzat al-Rishk, I think, also another member of this terror group, thank the Somali president's position, which he said reflects, or that's what he says, for the authenticity of, let's just say, the Republic of Somalia was standing with the Palestinians and rejecting normalization with Israel over there. You can see Israel recognizes Somalia, and this thanks they give back, the anti-Semitism, obviously. Let's say this stance is indicative of the ongoing tensions between, I think obviously there is friction between Somalia and Israel, and I think many in Somalia are standing in solidarity with the Palestinian people more. I think come on 2022, the president of Somalia announced that his government would establish diplomatic relations with Israel in the near future. So that was a welcome, let's say, change of direction. This move was obviously met with mixed reactions. Obviously, some people thankfully would praise it as a step towards modernization and development. However, obviously others will criticize it over there. Let's talk a bit about Ethiopian Judaism and Somali Peninsula. And remember, we are going to record a video, Bez Hashem, hopefully, about Ethiopian Jewish history at one stage in time. Now, Judaism has a rich history in Somalia Peninsula with both Ethiopian and Southern Arabian, strains present in the region. While there is, I think, limited evidence of any Somali clans embracing Judaism during the pre-Islamic era, the conversion of individuals and families are not ruled out. I think the Hebrew heritage of marginalized, let's say, Somalia clans, including the Yibir, can be traced back to the Beta Israel, or Ethiopian Jews. Very, very interesting. Israel, Ethiopian Jews, obviously Jewish group originating in Amhara, I believe, and Tigray regions of northern Ethiopia, where they were historically spread out across more than 500 small villages. The majority were concentrated in what is today North Gondar zone, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So very interesting. Come of the 16th century, the Somali population had largely adopted Islam as their primary religion. Ethiopians brought their brand, let's say, of their Christian authorities and their elements of Judaism with it. I think it's evident, in the presence, just reading from Wikipedia here, of Jewish archaeological evidence in the region, such as there's ancient cemeteries in the Hargusi region of Somaliland, embossed, I believe, with a Star of David, the Magen David, and also the Darot kingdom was led by the Queen Gudit, if I'm not mistaken. This would have a significant impact on spread of Judaism in the region, reported over. What's Yibro? So the Yibe is also spelled as Yibiro or Yebiro, and it's a marginalized clan found in Somalia. They are reported over to have been believed to have Jewish roots, specifically tracing their heritage to the Beta Israel, also obviously known as Ethiopian Jews. The Yibiro had faced, discrimination and marginalization with Somali society to their perceived, let's say, Jewish heritage over there. So we can add on more. I think there is limited historical evidence of Yibir's Jewish origins, but I think it's believed, if I'm not mistaken, that they may have been converts to Judaism, or that Jewish traders and merchants may have intermarried with the clan. Obviously, we have to examine, are they halachically Jewish or not over here. Some accounts suggest that the Yibir have preserved Jewish customs and practices, such as Brit Milah, circumcision, and kosher slaughter of animals. However, I think their Jewish identity is more in the keeping a secret side for fearing of persecution. Once again, from a halakhic point of view, I'm not too sure in of itself. Anyone tuning in live at the moment, welcome to our community, and please subscribe to the channel, as we've got fantastic content over here on this channel over here. So please subscribe. Now, the Yibir have traditionally been associated with practice of traditional healing and divination. That's their motto, which led to, I think, discrimination against them. And they were marginalized to some degree economically and socially. More, let's say, on the lower rungs of Somali society. That's something else that we have to point out within regards to that. So that's very, very much interesting. I think there was an article there, according to the Jewish Telegraph Agency. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was only there's an article that was printed, I think, from 1949, that only 3 Jews remained in Somaliland, and many people went to Israel. This was after the independence of the state of Israel, if I'm not mistaken. So very, let's just say, interesting fact in of itself. Yes, so we can talk more about it. We talked about how the arrival of Yemenite Jews in Somalia was around the time period of 1880s. That at the time coincided with broader movements of Yemenite communities into Ottoman areas, including Jerusalem. I think it's estimated that the Jewish population reached 100 to 200 individuals, which we spoke about before, in early 1900s. It's interesting. Their migrations were also influenced by the expulsion of Jews in Spain. Reported over, some Spanish Jews fled persecution under the Visigoths in the 7th century also. They would settle in North Africa, including in some areas of Somalia. Interesting enough. Now, let's just say in of itself, I believe, Jewish communities would play a vital role, if I'm not mistaken, in Somali society, in social, economic fabric, as we said before. As we said before, they were engaged in trade, but they would face, as we said before, discrimination in some aspects. I'm just looking at the Jewish virtual library over here, friends, over here at the moment. It reflected, let's just say, a broader pattern which was experienced, let's just say, by Jewish communities throughout the Middle East and North Africa. They would frequently rank lower in social status compared to their Muslim compatriots. And notably, apparently, the Jewish community in Somalia reportedly produced prominent leaders during the country's post-independent period, especially in the 60s and 70s, respectively. And we talked about how the community will dwindle, especially. And we talked about how there was ruins of synagogues were found in Obio town, while many, I think, smaller, let's say, local synagogues in towns like Hafun and Alula were destroyed, as before, by the Italian occupation at that stage in time in 1930s, respectively. So that's very, very interesting. There currently, obviously, there's no visible rabbi, let's just say, in Somalia, obviously because of the hidden Jewry also, and the marginalized nation. And very interesting. Yibir clan, you could argue, has maybe some strong roots over here, but according to some people also. And it's a whole interesting topic, let's just say, within regards to this entire topic about the history and what has been. I think there's a famous story about a guy called Rami, who was a young man who practiced Judaism secretly, and he highlighted the potential for Jewish hidden identity. I think Kulanu of Canada would actually report, let's just say, this topic before. And I think there's actually a very, very good presentation on the Unpacked channel, which talks about the last 2 Jews in Somalia, respectively. There's a whole presentation, video presentation, which I very much recommend everyone to actually look into. There's other PDFs, I think, out there, and so on and so forth, that also do explore within regards to potentially about the history of the Somalia Jewish community, which is also very, very interesting. So I recommend everyone to look at that, friends, over here on this Erev Shabbat Parshat Vayishlach, as we're coming in and learning and educating. ResearchGate also gives within regards to Jewry, I believe, in Somalia in its point in times, and actually it's very, very well, let's just say, detailed, let's say, article over there, which I have to also point out with like a lot of different sources. We have to point out. So I think that Jewish, if I'm not mistaken, just to use the recent 1949, there are no Jews left in Italian and British Somaliland, according to information received here by the Organization Department of the World Jewish Congress. Italian, Somali, Somaliland, and British, I think, were united in 1960, they report, to form the Republic of Somalia, despite the JTA's, let's say, more pessimistic view of the existence of Somali Jewry post 1949. Some people will say there's indisputable evidence that traditional and crypto Jews resided in Somalia well after 1949, reported over. So that's also documented over there inside a PDF that's actually found on research. Gates, which actually gives actually very well, let's just say, well-written article, which you have to say. I think it's reported over that there were 50 Jewish families in an area called Djibouti in 1901, and 111 in 1921. Many of them were Jewish traders, as for craftsmen and jewelers. This is according to the. Apparently, there several synagogues they frequented, including the Grand Synagogue in the heart of the Rua Darom. The Jews of Djibouti were known as experts Chachamim, apparently. They were renowned for their superior halachic knowledge. The most prominent of the few rabbis of Djibouti was Rabbi or Chacham Yosef Moshe, who was, let's say, ministering the Jews of Asmara and Addis Ababa. He was a mohel. He performed community, if I'm not mistaken, would dwindle in the 20th century. 2 phenomena were evident. There was increased intermarriage between Jews and natives, and latter's conversion to Judaism. Obviously, we want people to marry Jewish. Both anomalies vanished, I think, from 1948 when the majority of Jews made Aliyah to Israel. Obviously, that's connected to the famous magic carpet, let's just say, in of its own. So, where was the job at, first of all? This is what the article of ResearchGate is actually giving over. Because, I think it was close to the Somalia Peninsula, if I'm not mistaken, which has to be pointed out. Dear friends, anyone tuning in live at the moment, please subscribe to our community. Now, to Jubata, probably maybe we'll speak about it in another video. I think it is an area, I think, where there's as many as 1 million people, if I'm not mistaken, living there. It's the smallest in the mainland of Africa, and it's bordered by Somalia. So it's really, really right next to Somalia. So it's a key place because, remember, many people will come from there and will go back and forth at that point in time so many of these people will actually travel to Somalia, respectively. Over this, that's something of warning. I think 200 Jews from Djibouti were also threatened by political unrest. I think there was a member of the Jews in Djibouti, someone named Moshe Sion. He actually quoted a plane, and we all got on and flew to Israel. While in Djibouti, Moshe's father, I think, ministered. He was a mohel. He was a posek and sofer. The JTA, Jewish Telegraph Agency, says says all but 3 Jews of the Jewish community in French Somaliland, Djibouti, have immigrated to Israel, and that's something that we spoke about before. So very, very interesting. It's actually a very well detailed article. Let's just say in of itself, and maybe we'll speak more when we record our video within regards to Ethiopia, possibly maybe in the coming weeks. We will mention more within regards to it, but not much is available in the Hebrew language within regards to Somalian Jewry itself. That's something I will definitely point out, and yeah, very, very interesting, friends, over here. Now, friends, over here, if you look back at the videos that we've done, we have recorded already approximately, I believe, as many as 30, maybe 32 videos of different countries, but Jewish communities of different countries, something we had to point out over here. So please watch over those previous videos that we've recorded and enjoy and share with other people if you feel people are interested in watching, and learn more within regards to, let's say, great rabbis of yesterday and so on and so forth, and educate and so on and so forth over here. We don't just record videos over here about history of various different countries like we're doing today. We will also record videos of with great Jewish personalities of modern day. We record biography videos of great rabbis of yesteryear that have been, like, let's just say, grappling and dealing with many, many different issues, and been doing huge amounts of itself. We have a short message every day we try to get from a prominent rabbi of current day, where they give for 2, 3, 1 minute short inspirational message to really mitchazek Am Yisrael respectively. I think it's very, very important, and it's definitely a privilege that we can win a situation to do this with our audience at the moment. And there's so much great feedback we're getting constantly, and that's something I really appreciate. Everyone, we're a community here where we are all together, and we're trying to grow together and experience together, and just improve as time goes on. So that's something I will point out. Now, we're nearing at the moment 8,000 subscribers, which is a phenomenal achievement. Now, let's try and get to that stage before the Jewish festival of Hanukkah. That will definitely be an ambition of mine over here. I'm just going to take 1 short minute break over here, friends. So I'm just going to come back, and then we'll just give a conclusive message. So hold on, stay on the line, friends, and we'll just be a short 1 minute message as we wrap up the video for today. Okay, friends, everyone, we are going to call it a day over here. There's other articles, Jewish books from the National Library of Israel also, which points out information within regards to Somalia. That's something I have to point out also over here. So I recommend everyone to do some research on it. And apparently I'd recommend everyone to actually research about the famous, this man called Rami. He would actually chronicle over within regards to the Jewish community of Somalia also in some of his writings. So that's something I will definitely point out. And you could actually find a lot of information about other African countries. So hopefully we're going to cover more African countries as time goes on. So that's something I'll definitely state here on the onset. And please educate. Wishing all a Shabbat Shalom. If you haven't subscribed yet, please join and subscribe to the community and enjoy. I'm wishing you all well. So have a great day and Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for watching, everybody. Thanks. I appreciate it.